Good afternoon to everyone present here. On behalf of the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Sri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, I, Shatakshi Bindra, welcome you to this webinar on the knowledge of law enables realization of legal rights. The Internal Quality Assurance Cell, a regulatory body that aims to pursue quality enhancement and sustenance measures in making consistent and catalytic improvements in the core activities and other related endeavors of the college. We have gathered here for a purpose that has become a matter of utmost importance today, that is, knowing and understanding our legal rights. Before we begin, I would like to introduce you all to the college profile. Can we move to the next slide, please? Sri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, founded in 1984 as the second commerce college of the University of Delhi, is a premier institute specializing in commerce, economics, management, and computer science. The college is recognized for its academic excellence. The emphasis is on provision of quality education accompanied with character development and cultural growth so as to prepare socially responsible citizens. Sustained and concerted efforts accompanied with relevant policies, systems, and infrastructure conducive for meaningful and adaptive learning play an important role in ensuring that the college successfully maintains its position amongst the finest institutions across India. These efforts have culminated in securing an A grade ranking by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, that is NAC. The college has also been placed among the top 100 higher educational institutions on the performance by National Institute Ranking Framework of the Ministry for Human Resource Development. The next slide, please. The Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Sri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce, was set up with an objective to pursue quality enhancement in the college, and it aims to channelize all efforts and measures of the institution towards promoting its holistic excellence. It focuses on empowering the students, faculty, and non-teaching staff, as well as improving the infrastructure of the college. Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is inspired by the vision of transformational change in rural development processes by leveraging knowledge institutions to help build the architecture of an inclusive India. I would further like to invite our principal, Dr. Jatinder Veer Singh, to say a few words. I would also like to thank him for always encouraging and supporting the new initiatives taken by us in improving college activities.
Thank you, Bete. Thank you so much for inviting me to your webinar. And I also very honored to have Jyotika Kalraji, member National Human Rights Commission, and also a young advocate from the photograph I can see, Ayushi Chu. Both of you who are from the legal background, and my IQAC unit cell students of our college. To tell the guests that we in our college, we do hope to make everyone aware of their rights, and in this regard we have been running certain awareness programs along with the Delhi Legal Service Authority, wherein the judges come of the rank of additional session judge or district judge, who come and talk on different aspects related to to RTI, to the sexual harassment, to the legal rights of certain marginalized sections. So they cover about 10, 12 topics, and each day students are made aware about the different aspects of the law. So in that regard, our objective is to enlighten the students so that they are able to fight for their own cause. If they see anything, if their rights are being encroached upon, or they see anything going wrong in the society, so they can exercise those rights. And we live in a poor country when we know that we have so many marginalized sections of the population, vulnerable sections, and also the ordinary citizens. They all need to fight for their rights, and we have seen in the struggles civil rights struggles across the globe, that if we talk about blacks in United States of America, they had to fight for their own rights. If we look around and see the slavery, we had to also we had to fight for our own rights. If we talk about physically handicapped rights, they also had to do a lot of. They had to fight for their own cause. So we know about the woman, how sati was a practice in India, and other the ills that afflicts the freedom of the woman, and we've seen how those laws been enacted. And we, fortunately, in India, we have a written constitution, and we have so many amendments also in that constitution, because when we are changing with times, we need to replace those laws with the new provisions. In our law book, probably at some places we have law as back as that those prevailing during the British times. So those laws need to be changed, and that's what is happening in the amendments, that we are changing those laws when they become in contravention, or the society wakens up to the need for changing those things. So we have the amendments in the constitution. So in our constitution, in our college, where about 2,000 students daily come and are in the process of getting education. So it is also our moral right that we actually train students to become responsible citizens. And once they move out of the college, they become ambassador of those values they ingrained in our institution. So the purpose of this talk, I believe, is that how the students can actually choose the law for protecting and fighting for their own legal rights. So, and we are fortunate that we have the two guests who are actually in the working in the domain of this very topic, and because our college is primarily a commerce and economics college, so it will be so refreshing to look at the other angle, law, something that we miss in our college, to see that how from the law perspective, how we need to be awakened, we need to be aware of, and how we can actually change the society, which becomes a better society to live in. And we all citizens of India live in a happy, harmonious, and happy state of affairs. Thank you so much, Bete. I think you can carry on with the rest of the webinar.
Thank you so much, sir. I would now like to invite Ms. Harsheen Kaur, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, to welcome our guests.
Thank you, Shradakshi. Good afternoon, everyone. I think Principal Sir has very well put the need of legal education and knowledge and awareness. And it is definitely a common perception that legal education is required only for those who pursue the law as a profession. But that is not strictly correct. Basic knowledge of law is helpful for everyone to tackle and understand the issues, right from fundamental rights to even consumer protection. Legal awareness is something which can empower people to demand justice, accountability, and effective remedies at all levels. I think we have the right set of professionals for us to guide on this path. So to elaborate further on this, I welcome our first speaker for the session, Ms. Ayushi Chugh. And let me introduce everyone with her brief profile. Ms. Ayushi Chugh has done her graduation from the Amity Law School, Noida, and she has been enrolled with the Bar Council of Delhi and is practicing in the district courts of Delhi since 2017. She has largely dealt with criminal, matrimonial, and civil matters, and has gained expertise in drafting and researching on legal matters. She has, in fact, also appeared before the Delhi High Court and other district courts and forums independently. Thank you, Ayushi, for accepting our invitation, and over to you now.
Thank you for the warm welcome.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a great day and great Valentine's week. I am Ayushi Chugh, Associate Advocate Lex Locum Consultant. I'm here to give you the basic knowledge of law. So, most of you must have turned 18, and some of you might be turning 18 soon. So, as per, can I have the PPT? Next page, please. So, as per Indian Majority Act, a person is deemed to have attained the age of majority when he attains the 18 years of age. So, as you attain the majority, there are certain rights and certain benefits you enjoy. Like in Indian Contract Act, a person who has reached the age of majority, 18 years, that is 18 years, can engage into a contract. The act prohibits a minor from entering into a contract or an agreement. So, likewise, in Indian Partnership Act, a minor cannot be a partner, but there is an exception that with the consent of all the partners, he can claim the benefits of the partnership, but he cannot be a partner in a partnership firm. Next page, please. So now, yes. So now, some of the laws of the Criminal Code of India that you should know as a student, that only a woman constable can arrest a woman. No woman can be arrested before 6 a.m. and after 6 p.m. That means before sunrise and after sunset. A private person can arrest another person who commits a non-bailable offense or any proclaimed offender, and without wasting any unnecessary time, he have to take the person to the nearest police station or police officer present there. For non-bailable offense are where bail is only granted by the court. For few of the examples of non-bailable offense are murder, dowry death, rape. As per Police Act, a police officer is always on duty, whether he or she is wearing a uniform or not. He cannot deny the victim that they cannot help him when they are not in the duty. So they are always on duty. Next slide, please. Motor Vehicle Act. Most of you must be eligible for a valid driver license as per Motor Vehicle Act. But there is a famous saying, with great power comes great responsibility. So driving requires a lot of responsible behavior. At the time of driving, if your 100 ml blood contains more than 30 mg of alcohol, then the police can arrest you without a warrant. This law also says that if a traffic police officer snatches a key of your car or motorcycle, it is illegal and you can file a complaint against that officer. Next slide, please. Domestic Violence Act. Domestic Violence Act is for a person who is in domestic relationship. Domestic relationship means a relationship between two persons who live or have lived at any point lived together in a shared household. It is for husband and wife also, or person not in a marriage, and it is for family members also. So if a man and a woman wants to even live together in a live-in relationship, which is a domestic relationship, they can do so. It is not illegal. Even the child born out of the wedlock is also a legal son and daughter, and they have full right over their parents' property and assets. Next slide, please. So now, Income Tax Act. In case of tax violation, the tax collection officer has the power to arrest you. But this rule specifically provides that no order for arrest and detention in a civil prison of a defaulter could be made unless the tax recovery officer has issued and served upon a notice upon the defaulter, calling upon him to appear before him on the date specified in the notice and to show cause as to why he should not be committed to the civil prison. When a defaulter appears before the tax recovery officer, he shall be given an opportunity of hearing, and only thereafter an order be passed for detention of the defaulter in the civil prison. Only tax commissioner decides how long you can stay in the custody. Next slide, please. Now the most important, right to information. Right to information is the most important tool which is now also a fundamental right as held by the Supreme Court of India. Therefore, denial of information to any person by a public authority leads to infringement of fundamental right. Any citizen of India can request for information from any public authority, and the authority will have to revert back at the earliest or within 30 days. If the matter involving a life and liberty, the information has to be provided within 48 hours. There are certain exceptions given in RTI Act pertaining to national security, integrity, sovereignty, intellectual property of country, and as regard to students are concerned, information regarding to evaluation and answer sheet was restricted. But in recent judgment, Supreme Court has said that the evaluated answer books are open documents. The examining body will have to permit inspection sought by examinees with limited restrictions to that. The main essence of RTI Act is to provide information within a specific time. Failure to provide information to any citizen in specific time limit attracts penalties besides disciplinary actions to any public officer. Thank you.
Now over to Harsheen ma'am. I would like Harsheen ma'am to invite Jyotika ma'am as well, please.
Thank you, Ayushi. That was very informative for all of us. Now I invite our next speaker session for the day, Ms. Jyotika Kalra. Ms. Jyotika Kalra is a member of National Human Rights Commission. Before joining the commission, she was an advocate on record with the Supreme Court of India for more than 27 years. She was also an independent director at the Power Grid Corporation India Limited and Minda Sai Limited. She has filed numerous PILs, and the few significant ones are opening up the channel for makeup artists in the cine industries after 60 long years, and also raising the issue of non-recruitment of women in armed forces. Her articles on women and law have been published by the leading newspapers and magazines. She has also been honored by the Supreme Court of India for her 3 authored books. Her articles, she was also the speaker at the 79th session at United Nations Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. Ma'am has also been a faculty at the Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. It's an honor to have you, ma'am, here, and your profile is so impressive that the audience is really looking forward to hear words from you. Thank you.
Thank you. And when principal was speaking about the college being a commerce college, I had been a commerce student. So when Ayushi was covering the Contract Act, partnership and everything, so it reminded me that commerce is not without law. Law is an integral part of commerce. And going further, and it is nice that college is concerned about, the overall development of the students. There's all this, these kinds of knowledge, I think admit all. There are many pending. Just a minute, because, please start my PPT. There is a small PPT. Yeah. So I'm, because law is such a vast subject, it's all results come through law. But we have to restrict ourselves and limit ourselves to certain points. So I am only covering sexual offenses. Next slide. And this, I would like to start with this law, which is called as POCSO, or Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. A child, as per this law, is a person who is below the age of 18 years. And the very important aspect of this law is that it is a gender-neutral law. I mean, here the perpetrator can be a male as well as a female. If I may repeat, that it doesn't matter that the victim can only be a female or a male. The perpetrator can also be a male or female. I'll just give you an example. Like, I mean, just it may strike you, but a boy who is 17 and a half years of age can file a case against a girl again of the same age, like 17 and a half year of age, for the offences committed under POCSO, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. So next thing which I wanted to enhance, this is the what are the sexual assaults that are being committed. The first kind of a sexual assault which is mentioned in POCSO is penetrative sexual assault. I'm skipping this penetrative sexual assault as of now, because when I'll be discussing rape, because the same provision, almost the same provision is there in rape also, so it would be repetition. So I'm just skipping it for a while. And sexual assault, which is there in section 7, can also be, covered under the rape, but here the offense which is being defined, it says that whoever with sexual intentions touches, the only point of touching vagina, penis or breast of the child, or makes the child to do so, commits an offense of sexual assault. And apart from this, doing any other act with physical contact, which with the sexual intent. I just want to share that very controversial decision by the Nagpur bench of Mumbai High Court. The judge has held, because there is no skin-to-skin contact, skin-to-skin touch. So the accused is not guilty under the POCSO Act. And then important sections are like section 326A of IPC. Next slide. That is throwing acid, which is, quite common, and it is more so with the young children and failed friendship or relationship. These kinds of things are being done. But law is very strict on this throwing of acid, and whosoever commits this crime and it leads to permanent or partial damage or deformity of any part of the body on the person on whom the acid has been thrown, the imprisonment is not to be less than 10 years. So minimum imprisonment will be 10 years, and it may extend to life. And the next slide. And this girl is also entitled to free medical treatment, and the victim can be also penalized to meet the medical expenses of the victim. The perpetrator can also be penalized to pay the medical expenses of the victim. And next, I'm coming to the section which is outraging the modesty of women. That is section 354 IPC, which defines like that someone who uses criminal force on any women with an intention to outrage her modesty. So what is important is use of criminal force and intention of outraging the modesty. The punishment is 3 years under this. I'm skipping this 354A, which is sexual harassment, under this very section only. And I'm coming to the next provision, that is 354B, disrobing. Whosoever uses criminal force to any women with an intention of disrobing or compelling her to be naked. Criminal force has been used. Point was to disrobe that woman, or you compel the woman herself to remove her clothes. In urban areas, we do not find such incidents, but because of YouTube, you must come across such incidents happening in the villages. Especially so when, this Dayan Pratha, when they consider a woman to be Dayan, for that, like she is responsible for the death of a child in the family, or she is responsible for fire in the family, kind of such imaginary accusation against a woman and branding her as Dayan. There you find such kind of cruelties being committed, like the woman is made naked or her clothes are removed. And then 354, all these amendments are of 2013. When principal was talking about the initiation of law in India, So I may remind that it's almost 1822, 25, 29. It's almost 200 years before that the system of law, like written legislature, written laws were introduced in our country. So, but these amendments to criminal law, to 354, adding disrobing, adding voyeurism, adding stalking, is very recent. It's only after Nirbhaya Kand 2013, all these things have been added. So this voyeurism is, when a man who watches or captures the image of a woman, when she's engaged in a private affair, like if a woman is taking bath or a woman is in toilet or doing sex even, if somebody watches her or captures her image in that, and furthermore disseminates such images, so that is voyeurism, and that's an offense again that fetches a penalty or sentence of almost 3 years. And then 354D, stalking. This is, like पीछा करना, जो लड़का लड़की का पीछा करता है. And I remember when we started our profession, girls would come to us, ma'am, this boy, I mean, she follows me from my house and goes up to my school or college, and then when I am coming back, he's again waiting on my bus stop, and he again follows me back to my house. What should I do? At that point of time, this law was not there. Stalking was not an offense. So we would not have any remedy, like you can't have a penal remedy for this. You can't help it. And not only that, when this offense of stalking was introduced in the parliament, I'll just explain to you as to what is stalking. Any man who follows a woman or attempts to contact such women to foster personal interaction repeatedly. It's not once, but repeatedly, despite, and now this part is very important, despite a clear indication of disinterest by such women, or monitors the use by a woman of the internet, email, or any other form of electronic communication. Either that man physically follows that woman and expresses to her that I am personally interested in you, and this act is repeatedly, and this is despite the fact that women gives a clear indication that she is not interested. And same thing can also be applied to when a woman uses internet, email, and other forms of electronic communication. This is called stalking. And again, I would like to share an incident, that member of parliament from RJD, JDU, Bihar, I'm not naming, he said in the parliament that if stalking would become an offense, then how will be that, the journey of expressing love, falling in love with the women, how will that be materialized, or how will that take shape? So, I mean, there was an opposition to adding such kind of laws in the penal books. Next slide. So now this 166A, public servant fails to record any information, although I'll be covering rape subsequently, but this provision says that public servant means he can be police officer or any other officer who is responsible to lodge the complaint. If he fails to register a complaint under section 326, that is asset throwing, 354, that is outraging the modesty, 370, that is trafficking, 376, that is rape, he can be imprisoned. FIR can be registered against him under section 166A, and he can also be imprisoned for a term not less than 6 months, that may extend to 2 years. This, I tell you how it is being practically used. And as a member National Human Rights Commission, I have come across many such complaints before me. That the girl says that it's XYZ committed rape upon me. And when I went to the police station, the police has not registered my complaint. It has not been registered as an FIR. And the girl further says that that boy against whom I lost the FIR, against whom I lost the complaint, he's threatening me that if I initiate the legal action, I'll have to face the consequences for that. Here, when I'm discussing, I would also explain to you as to what is the difference between a complaint and an FIR. Complaint is when you approach the police station with an incident which is in technical word called as a cognizable offense. When the incident reveals the commission of cognizable offense, in simple language means when the incident reveals some incident which is covered under these sections like 375 or 354 or POCSO. So if those incidents are grave enough to be put under the bracket of the crimes as defined under the penal laws, if the police officer doesn't register, and a person goes to the police station with a complaint, but then on the basis, it is the duty and responsibility of the police officer, and that Lalita Kumari judgment of Supreme Court also supports it, that once a complaint which reveals commission of cognizable offense, means which reveals the offense which are covered under the IPC, then it is his bounden duty to register the FIR. This is under section 154 CRPC. So complaint and FIR are two different things. On the basis of a complaint, the FIR is registered, and once the FIR is registered, the police is under obligation to investigate it. Then the process of arrest or the process of search, seizure, taking statements, etc. starts once the FIR is registered. So until the FIR is registered, no action police can take. So simply filing a complaint in the police station doesn't mean that you have filed an FIR. It is the responsibility or it is the duty of the police officer to convert that complaint into a first information report or FIR. Next slide. So yes, I said that penetrative sexual assault I take up with the rape. It is section 375 IPC. And again, before 2013, the definition of rape was very conventional. I mean, penetration of penis into vagina was the basic requirement, the primary requirement of putting that thing into rape. Unless penetration of penis into vagina was proved, that the act was not being treated as rape. But with 2013 amendment, the definition of rape has been extended quite a lot. And why I want this this important definition to be discussed, because when we will discuss rape, a girl, it's more for the boys, I think, a girl who is below the 18 year of age, I mean, who has not touched 18 year of age, even if she is doing it with the boy with consent, the boy will be a rapist. He can be registered for a crime under the rape. It's only if the girl is above the age of 18, then in that situation only her consent would matter, or it would matter whether she did it with consent or not. As far as rape is concerned, the primary or the basic requirement is it has to be without consent. The girl, because now rape is not gender neutral law. Rape is only, the victim can be a girl and the perpetrator can be a man. I mean, victim can only be a female and the perpetrator can only be a man. So rape is not gender neutral. It is only a woman and a man. Now with extension of the definition of rape, a man who penetrates his penis into vagina, mouth, urethra, anus of a woman, or makes the women to do so. I mean, he does it to the women or directs the women to or do all these acts, that would be one kind of a act which is rape. And then the definition covers the next part, inserts any object or part of body, and it's not penis now, it is any object or any part of his body into vagina, urethra, anus of the women, or makes the women to do so, or vice versa. This is second part, I mean, inserting any object other than the penis. And third, applies his mouth to penis, sorry, not penis, applies his mouth to vagina, urethra, or anus of the women, or makes the women to do so. I mean, ask the women to apply her mouth to the penis of the man. That is kind of a vice versa things. This has to be against the will of the women and without her consent. Then it is termed as rape. It's now, rape is a very, I mean, sensitive kind of an offense. Earlier, you know, when before 2013, for rape, like penetration of penis into vagina, there used to be a forensic evidence in support of that, like swab taken from the vagina of the girl would go to the laboratory, and there it could have been proved whether the which sperms matching the sperms with the man and against whom the accusation is there, and the sperm would be also discovered from the vagina of the women. That way, scientific evidence for linking the rape was available. But with this extended definition of rape, it is only assertion that a man penetrated his penis into the mouth, or he applied his mouth to the vagina. So that much assertion or complaint by the women will be treated as rape. And you know, this case of Tarun Tejpal, and that girl Goa incident in the lift was this rape only. I mean, this extended definition of rape only was covered in that. And next slide. And yeah, sorry, I wanted to discuss two more things, that this has to be without consent. Even if the consent has been obtained by fraud or by misrepresentation, that would not be treated as consent. The person, the woman can, if is of the unsoundness of mind, that would also not be taken as her consent. And very frequent cases in such kind of rapes, which we have seen, are, you know, when the girls are in relationship with the boy, rather they are in physical relationship, and then something goes wrong, then this girl files this rape case, and there are judgments also which support that my consent to have sexual intercourse with the boy was not a simple sitter consent. It was a consent under the promise of marriage. I consented to have sexual intercourse with that man because he promised me that he will marry me. So once he declines to marry, the girl says that it was not the consent, so it is a rape. And the latest because in exception to the sexual exception, one of the exception to the rape is that sexual intercourse with your own wife who is under the 15 years of age. So only that category of sexual intercourse is excluded, where the wife is below 15 years of age. Now the petition which is filed in the High Court says that this exception should not be there. A husband doesn't get right to sexually abuse the women, so the rape may also be added against the sexual abuse by the husband to his wife. This is what only I'm linking this law with the recent developments. And next slide. Similarly, as is there section 166A, this section 166B puts a responsibility or obligation on any public hospital or private hospital to provide immediately the first aid or the medical treatment free of cost to the victim of rape or to the victim of acid throwing. That had to be with 166A IPC, but I think some misplacement. Next slide. So this is, sexual harassment of women at workplace. And as I explained the rape, definition of rape, similar definition is also of the penetrative sexual assault when I started with POCSO. So the same things, touching the penis, a boy can have a case against the girl for penetrative, for the sexual assault. Not touching is not penetrative, but when it is penetrative kind of a thing. So almost the same definition for rape is applicable to POCSO, penetrative sexual assault and sexual assault. The next, or this slide deals with the sexual harassment of women at workplace, and similar definition of sexual harassment when it is not workplace has also been added with 354, that is 354A, but I just skipped it there and I'm covering it here in POSH Act definition. So sexual harassment includes any one or more of the following unwelcome acts. Everywhere the basic requirement is unwelcome act. The girl should not be consenting or should not have been doing it with happily or with her own consent. And in this unwelcome judgment of the Supreme Court in district judge, that Madhya Pradesh district judge who had filed a case against the High Court judge for sexual harassment. In that case, Justice Keher, Supreme Court judge, he had authored this judgment, and he said that this unwelcome act can be said only when the women clearly brings to the notice of the man that this is unwelcome. So that's also important, that unwelcome part of the act must be clearly told or openly or boldly told to the man that this is not acceptable. It has to be said with authority. So what are the sexual harassment? Physical contacts and advances. I mean, touch, physical contact and advances, physical touch, or some demand for sexual favor, like, will you stay with me in a hotel, or can we go for an outing and stay outside? I mean, such kind of a demand for sexual favors or any other kind of a thing. And making sexually colored remarks. Sexually colored remarks can be, you are very hot, or you are commenting upon his body, commenting upon his clothes. You are wearing this this dress, but it looks like as if you are not wearing anything. So such kinds of sexually colored remarks are the covered within the definition of sexual harassment. Showing pornography is also part of sexual harassment, and on your laptop or this screen of the computer, somebody comes, you call somebody, and when she sits, you show her the pornography on the screen, or you will show pornography on a paper or something. And this again, the sexual harassment of women at workplace is also a perpetrator can only be a man, and victim is women. It's also not gender neutral law. And apart from this, it covers any other unwelcome physical or verbal or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. So it's wide enough. If it is nature sexual, and it can be any other, like making sounds of kissing, physical, verbal, or non-verbal. Physical, verbal, but non-verbal means you are making sounds of kissing, or you are making sounds of whistling, such kind of thing, or you are making some actions. So these are all, provided it has that sexual nature in it, it would be it would be sexual harassment of women at workplace. So I'm coming to my last slide. Next. This is because this is also recently amendment has been proposed in the Parliament, Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2021, whereby the age of the marriage, earlier it was, rather even now it is 18 years of girl and 21 years for the boy. The proposal has been made and the bill has been introduced in the Lok Sabha, whereby it has been said that the girl age should also be increased to 21. I mean, there should be a uniform age for the boy and the girl. And technically, there is no reason to have different ages for the boy and girl, but still the legislature or the proposed amendment bill has been referred to the select committee of the Parliament for doing the deep study on this law. And otherwise also, this Child Marriage, Prohibition of Child Marriage Act is a law which is applicable to all communities. I mean, it is not that it is, it would apply to all communities in any personal or religion or marriage. This age will have to be adhered to, otherwise it would be a crime under this act. And further, I just wanted to make, as of now, what the provision of the Child Marriage Act is there. There are penal consequences entering into a child marriage or encouraging a child marriage, but the child marriage, I mean, if the girl is below 18 or the boy is below 21, child marriage up till now is not void. It is not no marriage. It can only be avoided. I mean, by filing a case in the court, the child marriage may be avoided. Next slide. And I thank you all for your attention. Thank you. Stop crimes on women.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the informative session. I would like to invite Pavan to moderate the question and answer round. I expect everyone to have a lot of questions about this topic from you.
First of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for that wonderful session. It was quite informative. Now, I would request everyone to write their questions in the chat box.
Yeah, I read the question of Shivangi. Domestic violence, again, is not gender neutral. Only a woman is a victim in domestic violence. Under the protection of women from law, it says the name of the law is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. I think Ayushi also touched upon that.
Ma'am, there's one more question about what are the legal rights of a major?
It's a very vague and a very, broad question. As Ayushi also explained, it is basically the age of majority when you can do anything. You can become a voter, you can enter into a contract, you can become a partner, or everything except marriage and except liquor, I think. Otherwise, you are capable of entering into any kind of a contract because you have attained the age of majority.
Ma'am, I personally too had a question. That was, what are the rights to LGBTQ people experiencing domestic violence?
That is, there is a law on Transgender Persons Act. Transgender Person Act. And that deals with the sufferings or the crimes on the transgender, even in the domestic spheres. So, although it is neutral, it is lesser than the normal laws, but that Transgender Act itself deals with it. But, other things are also evolving, like in Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, transgenders are not like transgender per se. They are either born as a men or a woman. I mean, that way. So the the person who is known as a woman, and their all identities are also in the name of a woman itself. So they can exercise the laws under Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, and it is you have covered a lot of areas like LGBTIQ, gays, lesbians, and bisexual, and all that. So all the persons can have the protection under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, because gays and lesbians are no different. They can always have the protection under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. Yeah. Am I
Shadakshi, we
audible?
have another question. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
there is a
ma'am.
question on marital rape. I was looking into the chat box.
Yes, ma'am. So Daman Pal has asked this question that recently marital. Yeah.
Marital rape, I have read that question. It is basically, as I said, it is sub judice before Delhi High Court. Supreme Court, what has said or not said, I am not commenting on that. The latest position is that the Delhi High Court is seized with this matter and is hearing the petitioner and asking the response from the Union of India as to what the union says, whether the exception to the rape, which removes the intercourse or rape by a man, by a husband to his wife, whether this should remain or not, this kind of a thing. But let us see, because it is sub judice, so we can't comment on whether it is good or it is bad.
I think that is all about the questions. I would like to present the vote of thanks.
And I would, Satakshi, I would also like to thank my dear friend Sangeeta. We are friends since college. So for giving me this opportunity, me and Ayushi.
That is my network is, I think network is having some sort of lag. I'll just go ahead and just 1 second. So I would like to go ahead and present a vote of thanks. First of all, good afternoon to everyone present here once again. I'm honored to preside over this vote of thanks on behalf of Ms. Sangeeta Dodhrajka, Ms. Harsheen Kaur, and Ms. Ashwin Kaur First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Jyotika Kalra and Ms. Ayushi Chugh for taking out the time to enlighten us about various aspects of law and especially sexual violence and how its knowledge can help us know about our rights. I would also like to thank our principal, Dr. Jatinder Veer Singh, and all the other esteemed faculty members for their constant support and guidance. Furthermore, I would also like to thank all the attendees for making this webinar a great success. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day ahead. We will be
Thank you.
floating a feedback form. We'll be floating a feedback form right after this, and we would love to know your opinion about how informative you found this session.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Shatakshi. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you.